There may be times when you need to keep track of changing information on a web page and update the page when that information changes. This is also known as managing state. A real-world example could be a light switch in a room. The state is whether the light is on or off. When you flip the switch, the state changes and the room updates based on that state. We can build the equivalent on a web page where a button controls a switch for a light bulb that is shown as on or off depending on the state. Let's add, use, and toggle the value of a variable using that light bulb example. On the right data panel, with no element selected, find the Variables section. Click the plus button to add a new variable and give it the name light on or light_on. In this variable dialog, you'll see an input field for an initial value of the variable and the current value. The initial value is the value of the variable when the page first loads in a browser. As you interact with your website in the editor in test mode and change the value, the current value will update in the dialog, reflecting what would have happened on the website in a browser. Let's give this variable an initial value of true. Click out of the input field and you'll see the current value in the dialog update to true. You can also click on the FX button in the dialog to use the formula editor to build more complex data structures for initial variable values, such as arrays, which are lists, and objects, which are collections of key value pairs, or get the initial value from some other data, such as from an API call or by reading local storage from the browser. Now, let's use the light_on variable. Open the HTML element catalog using I on your keyboard, search for a paragraph element, and select it to add it to the element tree. Let's quickly change the styling to make it stand out on the page background. We're going to display the value of the light_on variable on the page inside this paragraph. Select the text node inside the paragraph and click the FX button next to the text heading in the right panel to open the formula editor. Currently, the value of this node is text, which is reflected on the canvas. In this node, next to Value, click the arrow to the left, find the Variables section and select light_on. You'll now see the current value of the light_on variable on the canvas, which is true. Now, let's set up an event to change that value or modify the state of the page. In the HTML element tree, add a button element. Select that button and view the Events panel by pressing E on your keyboard. Find the Click section and select a click event. In the dialog, press the plus button to add an action, and you'll see that you can set the light_on variable. Select Set Light On, and then click on the FX button to the right to open the formula editor. The event you see here is a default browser event containing a number of properties captured at the time of the click. We don't need to use that in this example, so click on the arrow to the left of the event node and select the light_on variable. To make this a toggle, we can use the NOT formula to set the value of light_on to the opposite of the current value when the button is clicked. This works great for values that can be true or false, which are also known as Boolean values. Click on the plus button to the right of the first node and start typing to find the NOT formula. Select it and you're done. Close the formula editor and you'll notice in the event dialog that because the current value of the light_on variable is true, the click event will set the value of the light_on variable to false. Let's test it out. Next, enter test mode using T on your keyboard and click the button a few times. You'll see the value of light_on toggle from true to false each time you click. If you exit test mode when the value is false, you'll also be able to confirm that you can view the current value of the variable in the variable dialog in the right panel, which is now indeed false. Now, you probably don't want to show true and false in a paragraph element in a real-world example when toggling between the light on values. So in the next lesson, we'll use this variable with the show hide formula to show different icons based on the value of the light on variable.